They stood at dawn, two Shaolin women framed by mist and a courtyard of wet stone. The air smelled of incense and cold earth. A single banner hung above them, simple and bold, the final test. The narrator explains the scene. Mei on the left, Li on the right, elders gathered like silent witnesses, novices pressed close to watch. The Grand Master watches, but his face carries curiosity more than excitement. The moment feels heavy, like the pause before a long note resolves. Mei moves first. She has trained since childhood. Her motions are precise and calm, each step measured as if she were counting breaths between worlds. The narrator describes Mei's motion in detail. Hands rising, fingers relaxed, posture so still it almost keeps the dew on the tiles. Across from her, Li mirrors the stance. Li is fierce-eyed, quiet-hearted. Her presence is wind-shaped, able to move mountains without shouting. Their readiness is not aggression. It is attention, concentrated and gentle. A single drum sounds. No weapons, no crowd noise, no shouting. Silence becomes part of the ritual. The narrator conveys how every novice leans forward expecting violence, but instead finds an elegant exchange. Mei tests distance with a controlled motion, a strike that is more question than attack. Li responds by letting the motion glide past, like water around stone. Then Li moves, a sweep, a low footwork that stops a breath short of contact. Mei smiles. She understands the game. This is not about landing blows. It is about control, timing, and the discipline to stop. The narrator paints the fight as choreography. Every motion flows into the next, every strike halted inches before a body. Breath is music. The watchers listen not for the crack of impact but for the rhythm beneath motion. The two women are listening to one another, to the unspoken language of balance. Yet tension coils like a hidden spring because both competitors know the rules have always implied a single victor. The crowd remembers the chant, only one becomes master, only one remains. The narrator notes this expectation like a shadow at the edge of the scene. Then the shift. Mei stumbles into a memory of being overlooked. The narrator explains how years of being quiet and underestimated surface in an instant, criticism like a remembered bruise. Pride swells. Her strike quickens, harder than the measured testing that preceded it. Li intercepts gently, palm soft against Mei's wrist. For a beat their eyes lock. Pride is louder than discipline this time. Mei lunges, speed spilling into force. Li, graceful and compassionate, guides Mei's momentum away rather than meeting it with equal force. The narrator describes the small, human moment that follows. Mei's foot slips on dew, balance lost. For an instant Li could have ended it. The elders shift. Novices hold their breath. Li instead steps forward, catches Mei's arm, and steadies her. That choice, to help rather than to take advantage, becomes the hinge of the scene. The crowd murmurs, not with disappointment but with confusion. The drum remains silent. This was meant to be a duel, yet compassion interrupts combat. The Grand Master raises his hand. He calls for enough, breaking the ritual. Mei bows, feeling shame, claiming she failed by losing control. Li shakes her head, registering her own sense of failure for hesitating. The narrator lays out the Grand Master's response with clarity. He points to the banner and reminds everyone that Shaolin's final test was always misread. Mastery, he explains, is not awarded to the one who strikes hardest. A true master protects what stands before her, even when victory is within reach. The audience feels the meaning shift, like light turning on in a darkened room. The Grand Master removes the banner. On the reverse is a new message. 2WHO stand, become one path. The narrator lets that line land. Surprise ripples across faces, novices gasp, elders exchange looks that gradually become smiles. The lesson becomes plain. Mei's stillness and Li's wind-like motion are complementary. One tempering the other. Strength balanced with restraint. The final test was never a contest to declare a single ruler. It was a teaching about shared leadership and mutual respect. Mei exhales a tension that had tightened her shoulders for years. Li allows herself a small smile, the first openness in a long while. They bow, not to the crowd or to the elders, but to each other. The narrator emphasizes this bow as the true turning point. Two masters acknowledging the strengths and vulnerabilities between them. The Grand Master pronounces the new order. From this day forward, Shaolin will have two masters. The courtyard erupts, not in triumph for one over another, but in applause for a lesson learned. The narrator closes with a reflection. Greatness is not a throne to sit upon. It is a responsibility to protect, to balance, and to lead without taking pleasure in the defeat of another. The story of Mei and Li becomes a quiet parable for any listener watching a dawn unfold. A reminder that mastery can mean standing together, and that sometimes the final test is not to win, but to choose compassion when the world expects conflict.